If you have been following me through the weeks of the launch of Death Stranding 2 on the beach, you might know that I was ironically sick at home, and I needed to obviously do some precautions not to having my family being infected with the disease. I have been crowned for the third time, and crowned, you might know what I mean because I don't want to get the bad sides of social media, including YouTube and Spotify. So I'm not entering in details, but I got a lot of time about retaking a gameplay that for some reason, I decided to stop playing right between 2019 and 2020, and I'm talking about Death Stranding. Death Stranding originally launched in 2019, and I think that was the year that Google Stadia and some other big profile launch of gaming preceded all, or actually succeeded the launch of Death Stranding, and that is why I kind of make the game being lost in my new game backlog that I shamefully have nowadays. So, in terms of making up the time or the extra free time that being isolated while I have been trying to heal myself from the disease, yeah, I took advantage on having to tackle the first game and waiting and actually try to finish the game a bit later after Death Stranding 2 on the beach got launched. So, in retrospective, when Death Stranding launched back in 2019, definitely there was some division within the gaming industry, especially with Hideo Kojima's fandom. For those who doesn't know, Hideo Kojima is the veteran gaming developer that once was a big name at Konami until the very last decade when Konami decided to serve all relationship with Hideo Kojima, including relinquish or making him relinquish his VP position after a fallout during the development of Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, which rumor says is that Konami was kind of in a crossroad between trying to keep making AAA video games or trying to make the movement favoring more mobile gaming, which Hideo Kojima was not a good variable in the equation. And in my opinion, time did have Hideo Kojima being correct that Konami shouldn't focus on mobile gaming. But that's another topic for another day. And definitely it is what could happen and what had been behind the exit of Hideo Kojima from Konami. But returning to Death Stranding, Death Stranding is the first video game that Hideo Kojima produced with his own founded Kojima production, which is not outsourced or a spin-off original Kojima production team from Konami. This was a brand new studio which had the audacity to make a AAA video game, one with a big budget. And definitely, many players get polarized with the unconventional walking simulator that the gameplay feels. To London Read, you play Sam Porter Bridges, being performed by both digital acting, or movement scanning, body scanning, if you will, and voiced by actor Norman Reedus. And it's a postman tasked with the reconnecting of isolated cities in apocalyptic America. It's slow-pacing, heavy inventory management, and intangible story beats were an acquired taste. And this is a kind of a summary of what you have of people thinking about the game and the first impression at all about Death Stranding 2. And critics praise its haunting lost games, its deep social asynchronous mechanics, the emotional core, of course, because Hideo Kojima likes to make video games to actually feels like it is a movie or a full motion picture. So and you can feel the special bond that Sam shared with his baby, baby in a jar, so you can carry to the Ted ghost in the game called BT. But many found repetitive back and forth a little bit exhausting, even if the narrative twist keeps them engaged. And trust me, with Hideo Kojima, it's not always easy, or at first glance, you get a whole picture of the lore within the game. The game is immerse heavy storytelling, and I don't blame you if you don't get it on the first time, or if you beat the game and you still has like some lagoons or loopholes in understanding the lore behind the game. I don't blame you if you look for resources on the internet, because I did it so last week when I finished my first walkthrough on the original Death Stranding. Now, moving fast forward this past June 26, 2025, Kojima returns with Death Stranding 2 on the beach. It picks up 11 months later with Sam living in a secluded life near the Mexico border alongside Lou, the grown-up BB, and a character which is another important character of the original game named Fragile, recruits him to connect Mexico and the Australia to the UCA network. So I'm trying not to go full spoiler here. So actually, I'm inviting you on playing both games. Not necessarily you need to play the first game in the context that the Death Stranding 2 on the beach doesn't give you any details, or at least a summary of what you might expect. Story speaking about Death Stranding first, but of course, to understand the mechanics and why there has been some difference between the first and the second game, it is recommended that you should play the first game. So if you play the game, you will notice that traversal remains the heart of the series, but on the beach, or Death Stranding 2 on the beach, tweaks nearly every system. The distance between the limits feels shorter, the terrain more varied, and traversal tools more plentiful. Ladders, zip lines, and vehicles really take the edge off the slog without removing the tension entirely. And yes, at least in my first 11 hours at the game, I kind of feel like, okay, this is getting repetitive from the first game, but immediately after you take the roll with it, or you go roll with it, if you will, you notice that it's kind of a more like a seamless experience versus the first game. And especially if you're playing back to back like I'm doing right now, as of the recording of this, for the transparency of this episode, I haven't finished the walkthrough on Death Stranding 2 on the beach yet, but I think that I got the whole picture and I can feel the difference between the first and second game. And yes, I think that one of the main feedbacks that I assume that Kojima Production got from the original game is that if you're going to be doing a delivery walking simulator, at least make something like a little more balanced, where the player feels like kind of rewarded, or maybe has some incentive. And I think that the incentive is that there are some RPG elements where you can develop more easily and more rapidly. Improvements about Sam's stamina, or the tools that you're used if you're doing especially heavy cargo when you're pretty much up to a long travel. So that's one of the things that I feel that Death Stranding 2 on the beach improved so much from the first game. Yet, you still have to plan every mission. We stormproof your loadout, pack blocks, grenade for BTs, or a tranquilizer sniper rifle for human threats. On the beach is far more gamey than its predecessor, and that's a welcome change for many players, and I want to insist on that. So again, to better understand the perspective and some of the terms that I'm naming here, definitely you should check the first game. In the story and character aspect, the sequel's narrative is tighter and more emotional, while the original aired is revelation and slow, like a TV season like drips, of course. And again, this is Hideo Kojima. Everything feels like a motion picture or a TV series. Death Stranding 2 on the beach keep the pace brisker. New characters get their moments, but Sam and Lou's father's daughter bond arcs the story like it did in the first game. Of course, fans of the arena will appreciate the return of known characters, while newcomers will enjoy a more cohesive plot, less bogged down by exposition. So, yes, the game is kind of friendly for new players that haven't tried the first game yet. So, there's again my recommendation to play the first game, but if you will, you can start right away with Death Stranding 2 on the beach. I think one of the biggest things that the internet really got glimpsed is the part of visuals, graphics, and audio. And technically, on the beach is a standout. There's no denying that Kojima's use of the Decima engine delivers a photorealistic vista, snow-capped peaks, rest sandstorm, desert, and dynamics weather that isn't just eye candy, but affects gameplay. For the non-tech savvy, Decima engine is the very first, not the first, I should say that this is the very same game engine that Guerrilla Games, a PlayStation studio, uses for the games like Horizon Zero Dawn, Horizon Forbidden West, and the latest Killzone games. And with the soundtrack now by Woodkid alongside Ludwig Forcell, hits those emotional crescendo perfectly. The camera pullback moments with the sound kicking in remain one of the game's best audiovisual spectacles, and this is something that you notice from the first game. And since I think and I believe since Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, Hideo Kojima has been kind of being selective and really inclusive with his taste of music within this creation, and Death Stranding is not an exception, and it was actually a big highlight on this aspect. So I want to close out with a final verdict. Death Stranding 2 on the beach doesn't reinvent Kojima's vision, to be honest, but it refines his less slog, more spectacle. It's arguably his most accessible and action-driven sequel yet, without losing the soul of the original. Yes, it can be a lot of struggling at first, especially in long distance deliveries, and if you're a fan of action adventure from start to finish, but include gunplays, a lot of shooting and killing enemies, Death Stranding 2 on the beach is not necessarily your perfect game for this. There are missions, of course, that you play like you're technically Solid Snake. Yeah, like a direct comparison with a Kojima game, but definitely there's a space for everyone. Those who like exploring, those who are graphic hoarders to see the spectacle of background rendering and the panorama of the open world of Death Stranding 2 on the beach. But if you give this game a chance, you love it. You probably adore Death Stranding 2 on the beach. My personal perspective and reason for this final verdict, like I said before, I see some of the difference mechanically not. There's no definite difference between the first and the second game in the mechanics perspective, with the exception of the inclusion of improving Sam's stamina tools like it was an RPG games. I think that's one of the compelling things and the rewarding aspect to make me feel like I'm not wasting my time or stressing this, because it's not that I didn't enjoy the game, especially the first game, but there was a moment I feel like in a desperation, especially in some levels that you practically need to cover the whole freaking map in like 1 to 3 takes or orders or mission, if you will, and it's kind of get you to the desperation, like if there's any endpoint to this, or is there any light at the end of the tunnel. But so far I didn't feel that way playing Death Stranding 2 on the beach. I think that Hideo Kojima got a great feedback and a great perspective on how people reacted to the first game. And I think that he got to rebalance things about his vision as an artist and the reality of the taste for our gamers. So, once again, the game Death Stranding 2 on the Beach was released this past June 2025, specifically June 26, 2025. For the time being, it is a PlayStation 5 exclusive. I don't rule out that it might happen like it was in the first game. The game will remain console exclusive for the PlayStation 5, but maybe a year or a year and a half, or maybe later than a year, we probably might be seeing the game head into PC. In the case of the first game, it was published by 505 Games for the gaming perspective, or PC gaming perspective, I should say. So I don't rule out that it might happen to Death Stranding 2 on the Beach